All right. Well, I'm going to, as we start kicking things off, share a poll so that we can learn a little bit more about the audience tonight. And I'm going to do some general introductions while you folks fill out this poll. Really quickly, this is the final session of the Big Sky Backcountry Skills Series, which is a first-time series that the Montana Wilderness Association is doing, meant to educate and entertain folks with practical skills around outdoor education during COVID times. And the Montana Wilderness Association has been around since 1958. We work with communities across Montana to protect wilderness heritage, quiet beauty, and outdoor traditions. Our commitment to grassroots work has been instrumental in the passage of the Wilderness Act of 1964, in the designation of all 15 Montana wilderness areas, and we currently have over 5,500 members and hope you will join us in this important work. Looks like if folks can hear me okay, would you mind sending in a comment or something with your name and where you're from? It looks like we're not getting any, I'm not certain that people can hear for some reason. Oh, thanks, Meg. Okay, awesome. Thank you all. I appreciate it. So my name is Jacob Foster. I'm the Policy and Advocacy Coordinator for the Montana Wilderness Association. I work out of the Missoula office, and I'm excited to hand this webinar over to Jan Jamuska Wilson, who's a retired Montana public school teacher, and also the winner of the Montana Wilderness Association's 2019 Golden Spatula Award. Jan first volunteered as a camp cook back in 2014 for the Montana Wilderness Association, and she's known by the trail crew as a great chef and entertainer with plenty of stories about her travels, and was given this award because she's a talented camp chef who has done a great job over the years of cooking up tasty food and keeping our volunteer trail crew going. And then here are just some general Zoom tips for folks. And without further ado, I will hand it over to Jan.
Okay, well, I'm really glad to be here tonight. Thank you very much for asking me, Jacob. This is a great opportunity to be able to visit with everyone about how important our wilderness is and what it is that everybody can do to help preserve it, take care of it. You had said that I had gotten the Golden Spatula Award from the MWA last year, and I was really proud of that. Kind of overwhelmed. It was so much fun. I didn't think I should get an award for having so much fun, but I really appreciated it. That kind of sums up, I guess, what I've been doing with MWA over the last few years. I have spent 50 years of traveling and hiking and climbing and volunteering I love cooking and reading and collecting books, especially cookbooks. And I like to be outdoors and sharing outdoor adventures with family and friends and meeting other people. I appreciate good food and I love to cook and I love to talk about cooking. My first backpacking trip I ever did um, probably focuses me a little bit on cooking. I was 14 years old. It was a weekend trip into Glacier National Park with my dad in the mid-1960s. My dad outfitted the trip at an Army surplus store as a post-World War II Marine would. We carried wooden framed backpacks and flannel sleeping bags, heavy, let me tell you, heavy, and the food, Army rations in gray and green little packages. Some of them didn't have a label for the contents, and so we had a couple of surprise meals during the trip. I hiked for a number of years after that trip on long day hikes. One of them was 30 miles long, just so I wouldn't have to carry a backpack. But then I managed to get myself a different sort of system for being able to backpack and got back into it and have been enjoying it ever since. Could we go on to the next slide, please, Jacob? I found this cartoon and I thought that you would like to appreciate it. True, you get an idea and you're just going to go out for a hike and then you start planning and packing for it and it does become a little overwhelming. My husband always says that he hopes that we spend as much time having fun on the trip as it did to take getting ready for it. I'm a planner and an organizer and a list maker. And so paper and pencil and a good cup of tea are my stock trade instruments of choice for meal planning. First couple of questions you have to talk about is what kind of a trip is it? We're talking about backpacking trips during this webinar. And we'll focus on that. And probably because
Oops, are folks still frozen? Okay, we might have got a little internet delay. Sorry about that, folks. I will reach out to Jan really quickly and make sure that she hops back on. In the meantime, I will share the poll results with everybody. Thank you for filling that out. And hold on just a second. Oh, it looks like Jan is reconnecting. Thank you, everybody, for your patience.
Unmute. Hello, Jacob.
Hey, we're all still. There was for some reason,
Oh, okay.
there was some kind of internet issue and it froze. But if you want to screen or share your screen, you are not muted right now, and there are still 60 participants on who are eagerly awaiting.
Okay, well, I'm trying to figure out what to do here. Hold on just a second. Can you show the video, show it online? Can you click us back in?
Yes, can folks?
I don't see it yet.
We are on it's way easier hiking the hike than planning and packing for it.
Okay, let me get back on again.
Okay.
Is this one not responding?
And Jan, I think you are logged in here. Perfect. If you just unmute yourself, I think we are good to go if you can still see the screen. And that is on the bottom left-hand side. There's a little bar that'll pop up that should allow you to unmute. Oh, there you go. You're back. Oh. You are muted again, Jan. Let me see if I can. There.
Back in?
You are.
Okay, technology, you know, is not my friend sometimes. If we could go to the next slide, that would be great.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so this is our first consideration when we're going to be talking about cooking on the trail. You need to know yourself. What kind of a cook are you? I'm blessed with family and friends who are great cooks, and some rely on freeze-dried meals, oatmeal, ramen, and snacks on their outings, using as their mantra a one pot. They want to be able to fix everything in one pot. And others like me see this as an opportunity to cook, a pursuit and a challenge. On my treks and climbs at home and abroad, I've shared meals and soups and teas on the trail, prepared on jet boil stoves, over campfires, and in backpacker ovens. People just stopping along the trail and deciding to bake something at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Pretty amazing. If we could go on to the next slide, Jacob.
Yes.
The next consideration, after knowing what it is you wanted to do, is to decide who goes there. Who's the number of, or how many people are going to be on your trip? And more important is your finding out whether the food allergies and preferences of those people on the trip are going to be able to be accommodated. Trust me, if you're not going to eat it at home, the trail is not the place to be trying out new foods or foods you don't like. Lots of people that have allergies and preferences will be bringing along their own food as well, but it can be augmented by what's being used by the rest of the group. When I have some time, I'll take a recipe and adapt it and cook it as if I were on the trail. So that's one thing you might be able to do at home for yourself. See if you can't adapt it to one pot, or not to having to use the oven, or whatever it is that might be holding you back from eating that on the trail. Having a trail meal potluck on your patio is another way to find foods that you want to eat on the trail. Having everyone come with their favorite food and a recipe to share, and that's a way to get some ideas for cooking things on the trail. Having a trail planning session or trail meal planning session with your fellow hikers over wine and hors d'oeuvres is also fun. You can figure out whether anybody really wants to have that for dinner or not, or for a snack or an hors d'oeuvre or whatever. If we could go on to the next slide, please, Jacob. So the first thing to do is to brainstorm a menu list. Breakfasts, lunches, dinners, desserts, snacks, and beverages would be the headings for your brainstorms. Rather than rely on sandwiches to take along, or a piece of pizza or something else, then to avoid that, a little planning would help. The number of days out, meals needed should be a consideration. If you're only going to do 2, you need 1 breakfast and 2 lunches and a dinner and some snacks for both days, and then also maybe an hors d'oeuvre. The number of fellow hikers, how many are going to go, so that you know how much food you're going to be planning for, and of course their food preferences. And you can match the meals then from your brainstorm list to what it is that you are going to want to have then for meals on the trail. If we go on to the next slide, please. So the next step would be to make a master trip menu and then daily menus. Because if you're going to do more than 2 days, it's kind of hard to remember what sorts of ingredients you needed for what meal throughout your trip. This is where you get to list your meal and beverage must-haves. You talk about portions, copy any of the recipes that you want to be reminded of, and then of course the next thing to do is make a shopping list. You want to plan to use perishable foods early on in the trip, and you want to have a master list of the menu, even if you aren't going to take the recipes, so that again you can plan for what it is that you're going to need to save out to prepare the meals later in your backpack. It's not that hard, and according, the cartoon that's there, it won't happen to you with a little bit of planning. Could we move to the next slide?
Yes.
And so our next thing then is to think about the trip food prep. You can pre-bake brownies, you can pre-bake focaccia, pre-cutting all kinds of vegetables saves you time. Pre-cooking, if you want to maybe brown the meat at home so that you don't have to deal with the grease that might be coming from like hamburger or whatever it is you're using. and then just be able to heat it up or add it to various meals. That's a good idea. Pre-mixing things. If you want to make your own dumpling recipe, you can put together a flour mix so that all you have to do is add your water. You can do the same with soup mixes. Just add together the things that you would like to have in your soup. And then all you have to do is pull the bag out of your pack and you've got stuff there, and really it's just like chemistry class where you get to add everything together and have a good result. Freezing things. It's always hard to try to keep things cool. That's why people go with freeze-dried, but you can even freeze things in advance and use that as packing for some of the things that you might be using in the first couple of days that you want to keep cool. Vacuum sealer. I use my vacuum sealer a lot, my food saver. And that also helps because you can freeze things. Keeping it without air on it seems to keep it frozen more. Not too hard to do. Nalgene bottles. I love taking Nalgene bottles along, not only because that's what I use for my water purification, but it's got these nice little measuring things on the side, and so you know how much water you're adding to the packages. And Ziplocs. I don't know how anybody in the modern day age would get along on a backpacking trip without using their Ziplocs. I take along extras, and especially large ones, so that we can use it as a garbage sack if we want to. And because you will have either extra Ziploc bags, or you'll have maybe stuff that you have repackaged that needs to, you know, the extra needs to be thrown away. I take tin foil because it's got a lot of uses. Lots of times I'm only using a stove. Like now, campfires are not allowed. And so you want your food items to be able to be cooked on the stove that you're taking, as opposed to depending on a campfire. And I always think about multi-use containers, things that have more than one use, so that you're not carrying tons of utensils, cooking pots and pans and containers needed for the meal. Of course, you have to consider fuel. Some ingredients that you might want to think about are eggs. Some people swear by taking one of the packages. Oh, I guess this is what I've got right here, this thing, to carry eggs in. If you really care about that much, I take lots of times I'll take liquid substitute eggs, and we've taken dried eggs on our trips as well. Spices, I would put spices into little, you can get them at the pharmacy, little individual prescription containers. They are like a Ziploc, but they're way smaller. And you can take spices that you absolutely can't live without, you know, in those. Cuts down on the weight, and you don't have to worry about salt and pepper shakers opening up in your pack. I get packets from fast food restaurants of mayonnaise and ketchup and mustard, pickle relish, salad dressings, and you can buy the packages of salmon and tuna and chicken and take those to be able to use. Dehydrated potatoes. You can take the instant potato mash or instant potato packets, or you can take the, you can get dehydrated hash brown potatoes. All those things are available. And then of course, any kinds of grains like quinoa and polenta and your fast cooked rice and lentils. Any of those can be figured into your recipes. Dehydrated fruits and berries work in as well. Can we go to the next slide, please? Once you get all the food together, then what is important is that we need to go to or into food packing mode. And what I do is I package the meal ingredients together, and I label those packages with the day and what the meal is inside the Ziploc. I even put in a recipe copy if I just need to be reminded of the steps. One of the things to do is to repackage foods. I always think there's a lot of packaging, and so if you can take it out and stick it into a Ziploc and put it back into the Ziploc along with the recipe, that's easier than taking a whole big bag, unless you need the freeze-dried food bag, of course, to fix your meal in. But that works for me to do that easily. Use your perishable foods earlier in the trip. One of my favorite first dinners to cook is a cioppino, which is a fish stew. And so if I freeze the fish and freeze the things that I'm going to put into it, it's ready to be cooked the first night out. But I'm going to use it the first night because fish might not keep much beyond the first night. The weight is a problem, or not a problem, but a consideration. As I said, you can't take the whole kitchen with you, and so weight is important, and you just need to decide how much weight you're willing to carry. 1.75 pounds, I read someplace on the internet, was really a good amount of food to think about taking for 2 people for 1 day. But you can find that stuff out just by Googling it and asking how much weight would be what you should aim for in terms of backpacking. We always have each person carry their own lunch and their own snacks. And that way you pack that up in the morning and everybody knows what they've got for food and for snacks. It's a little bit easier than trying to stop and have one person or a couple of people fix the meal for everybody, because not everybody remembers the menu. Okay, let's go on to the next slide.
Right.
Where do we find these recipes? Well, family and friends. They are a great resource. Another one are camp cookbooks. I have several. I use this deck of cooking cards, Backcountry Cooking. 50 cards in here representing the snacks and the meals, and so you might choose from that. There's another one called Campfire Cuisine, lots of great ideas for backpacking. And then some older ones that I rely on. One is called Hungry Campers. These are listed someplace else as far as being able to figure out where they are. And then also this one, which is the Hungry Hiker's Book of Good Cooking. And this one gives you lots of good ideas about weight and what would be, should be in your camping book. However, what I've just discovered, not just discovered, but what I've been using for the last 10 years is just to Google. Just Google and say, what are some good backpacking meal recipes? And tons of stuff comes up. So it's kind of a fun thing to do when you're sitting in various places where you have a few minutes and just want to take a look and see if you find one. Let's see. Could we go on to the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, so these are recipe riffs, I call it. And so for breakfast, a salmon bagel is really good. You can take salmon along, you can take bagels, you can take some cream cheese, and you have yourself a delicious breakfast. It's not so hard to grill that bagel in a pan. on the stove. All you have to do is put a little bit of oil on it and flip it over and cook it like you would a pancake. It toasts up the bottom that you're going to put the salmon and the cream cheese on. A sausage polenta scramble, again, a good one-pot meal. I pre-cook my sausage, and I carry the polenta in and follow my recipe for combining all of that to make that with eggs. And I do think carrying liquid eggs or real eggs in is important in this recipe, just because I want to taste the eggs instead of having dried eggs. And then I love my California grilled cheese because I carry in the bread. And again, I cook it like you would a grilled cheese at home. You only need a pan. And your favorite cheese, Fontina cheese, melts fast. And you can add sun-dried tomatoes, artichokes, onions, all kinds of things to be able to make your personalized grilled cheese. The dinners, I guess we'll go to that first. Cioppino, that's my seafood stew. I love to have that. And then another one that's good and easy to make is creamy sun-dried tomato and chicken tortellini. Again, you carry in a package of chicken, you have packaged up some sun-dried tomatoes to take with you, and you carry in the tortellini, and you have already packaged up what it is you're going to have for a sauce. And boy, does that taste good. I added this next one just because I had a friend that I used to backpack with who would put jerky in. She'd make her own jerky, and then she would make a stew with potatoes and carrots and beans, and we would soak the jerky for like 20 minutes before you started cooking. And then when you added all of that, it really makes for a tasty stew. This one was beef jerky with rice noodles, and I found that on the web as well. I thought that I had added some of the cookbooks and the places that I went, but I don't see it on the slide. And so I must not have. And so if this was where I got some of those recipes online, it was at a place called greenbelly.com. And greenbelly.com is a place where you can buy prepared meals. Chris, the fellow that put the site together and has been developing these recipes and foods you can buy for backpacking, put together a really cool site. And this one would be 17 easy backpacking meal recipes at greenbelly.com if you just wanted to be fooling around before we get this up on the list for you. So we have a few minutes here for any questions and answers. Anything come in, Jacob? As far as questions or answers from our attendees?
Somebody was wondering if we could share these recipe riffs later, that they thought this was great, and just, I think, seeing some new ideas.
Great. Yes, happy to do that. I'll have to talk with you about copyright things because some of them are just straight out of the book. And so I don't know if we can just put those up or not, but I'll definitely put the cookbooks down, so or we'll list the cookbooks so that you can certainly figure out where we got those from.
And yeah, somebody just asked, they are a vegetarian and they're wondering if you have any good vegetarian recipes that you rely on.
Yes, I've learned, especially because many of our trail crew that was working on the MWA trails are vegetarians. And so only having a 2-burner stove and sometimes a campfire to cook on, it was kind of hard to prepare a vegetarian meal that could be just vegetarian and have them eat with the rest of us. So a lot of mine would be adding the meat at the end so that we could take off what we needed to be able to feed and add to for the vegetarians, and then add the meat back in then for the other people. So that's mostly how I dealt with it and how I deal with it. There are some really good recipes that I have seen in the cookbooks too that I've used that are completely vegetarian. And a lot of those have to do with beans and rice and other grains. Depending whether you'll eat cheese or not, you know, you would add cheese, lots of vegetables. Yeah, so we can, those are readily available. You can even Google vegetarian backpacking meals and you'll get a whole list of ideas.
Yeah, that is it for questions at the moment.
Okay, well, let's go on then to see a recipe riff in action. 2 weeks ago, my oldest son and I backpacked the CDT trail from Flesher Pass to Rogers Pass. And here we are with ramen. I said we would go beyond ramen tonight, and we have done that. But saying that, on this trip, we got the opportunity to take off, and we didn't have much planning time. And so we carried with us some sandwiches that we had gotten, and also ramen with what it was we were going to add to it. And the other thing that we did about this is we hiked until later in the evening, and all we wanted to do was sit and have some tea and eat our sandwiches. I will say they were staggering hot sandwiches, so they were just chock full of everything, vegetables and cheese and meat and everything. And then, of course, we had carried in some homemade brownies, and that was a great supper. So we were deciding that the ramen would be for breakfast. And so this is our riff on ramen. Jacob, can you play the video?
Yes, playing now.
Hi, I'm Jan, and I'm hiking on the CDT for 2 days with my son Jeff, and I wanted to show you what we were going to do for breakfast. We've decided that ramen is where we're going to start for breakfast, but first I want to show you some of the gear that you should be aware of having. One, of course, is a hanging rope for your food, and also bear spray handy. We have a jet boil. That's what we're going to use. And I always have this for camp. This is kind of my gathering bag for food and gear and what I'm going to hang. And I always have a towel because I like to lay it out and put my food on it for preparation. We have snacks here for the day. And here's our ramen. A big bag. It'll serve both of us. And I prepare by cutting up some vegetables and some ham before I left home, and then I froze it, and now it's ready to go into our ramen. I have a couple of bowls. You can get away with just one bowl, and a couple of spoons. I have some plastic bags in here, and that's pretty much my food bag, what I unloaded here. So we'll get started. First thing we're going to add to our ramen, and we're going to start with cooking, is the ham. Stir it up a little bit. And then it's time to add the water. Now, I love using Nalgene bottles because it's marked on the side how much water you could add. We're going to add 2 cups. And here it goes. Bring that to a boil. Okay, we've got boiling water. And so now I'm going to add the soup base and also the flavor packet to the water. also, the next thing we're going to add is the vegetables that we had pre-prepared. Stir that all up. Bring it to a boil. Coming back to a boil, okay? And then you're going to take the ramen and add the ramen to the pot. I always break it up. It takes a little bit less time, and we want to have some crunchiness to the ramen and also to the vegetables. Jet boils are notoriously hard to maintain a common temperature, so you kind of be adjusting it. It's a good chance for the cook to sit and watch everything that's going on. Okay. All right, stir it up. And it's boiling away. Put a top on it. Stir it maybe once or twice while you are cooking it. Okay, let's see how our ramen has turned out. Here is the pot with the liquid and the vegetables and the ham. Everything looks really good. You can add other things if you want to. You don't have to add this, but any sort of cut up vegetables and meat will make this a really hearty dish. A great addition is an egg. And we'll talk in other sessions about how it is you might be able to carry an egg in to add to this. It gives thickness to the broth and a little bit of added protein. Well, let's serve it up.
That is great.
Hi.
Jan, you had a couple of questions.
Okay.
Hearing that, somebody was impressed. Wasn't this your second day on the trail?
This was breakfast. We hiked in the day before, yes, and this was breakfast.
Yeah.
And if I could just say, this particular section of the trail does not have any water on it. So we needed to carry all of our water for 12 miles with us. We carried 4 liters of water. I don't know if you've ever weighed 4 liters of water, but it's 11 and a half pounds. So we were hydrating as well as we could, trying to conserve or take care of having enough water for the trip.
Another question. You've been doing this for so long. The attendee is wondering if you have a favorite backcountry meal.
Oh, gee. My favorite backcountry meal is the next one I'm going to cook. So I warned you at the very beginning that I love cooking and experimenting, and so a go-to. I guess this would be a go-to for me, but it's really easy, I think, to be able to prepare almost any of them. So I kind of wait and see who I'm hiking with and what it is that they want to eat and can eat, and then I'll come up with a meal.
And then I have a question. Do you have any tips or tricks regarding how much fuel you're using or fuel conservation when you're doing those long boils?
Yeah, that's where, especially for backpacking, dehydrated foods are going to come in, or pre-cooking at home. I carry, let's see, I would say we used for the tea the night before, and then coffee and tea, and cooking the ramen in the morning, 1/2 of one of those small canisters If I were going to be doing it longer, I would just say that I would plan on 1 canister for a day, breakfast and dinner.
One of the really small ones.
Yeah, right, for a day. And then if I take a bigger one, then that usually lasts me for the whole weekend.
Oh,
But
nice.
I always like to have an extra one because they're not that heavy, you know, a big one and a small one. And that way, if I run out, we can do that. Because you do run out. I mean, even when I was cooking for the trail crew, we take a propane tank. And I remember running out on a Friday night, and we still had Friday night's dinner to cook and also Saturday mornings. And we started putting in an extra small one to get us through.
Somebody is wondering, kind of in that vein, what is the largest group you've backcountry cooked for?
The largest group I backcountry cooked for was 24 people.
My goodness.
And that was not, that wasn't a backpack, that was a stock supported trip. And we had two burner Coleman stoves. So that's what we were using for cooking.
That's great. What size of a pot did you bring for that?
Let's see, I'm trying to think what size they have. The MWA kitchen, which I will say I complained about a couple of times, has a wok in it. And I use the wok because that would be the one that would hold the largest amount, the largest size for cooking. And then there's a smaller pot that you could boil potatoes in, or whatever it was that you were fixing to add to the wok.
Nice. And then you got a lot of yummy and looks great comments regarding the ramen.
Oh, good. All right. Yeah. I was trying to go beyond it, but since we were out, this was our meal, I thought, well, why not? Or at least my son said, why not? So here we are with that. Could we switch to the next slide, or do you have some more questions?
That is it in terms of questions for now.
Okay. This is the final slide in this program, for me anyway. I like this one because it really is hard to plan to have just the right amount of food. And one thing I would like to say is bring what you think you need for the main meal, but it doesn't hurt to throw in a couple of extra, like instant mashed potatoes packets that can extend in case people are really, really hungry. Then you don't have to be digging into the next day's food. You know, you can go into your, what I call my possibles pack, and pull something out to be able to add to whatever it is we're doing for that night. We had some extra people join us for a dinner, and that possibles pack has really helped a lot. So Jacob, that's all that I have, unless there's something else you'd like to ask or to clarify to wrap this up. And this was great. And thank you very much for the opportunity to be able to share this.
Yeah, that is, I would like to give folks another opportunity to rack your brain and ask about your experience regarding backcountry cooking. I did have a moment to get those poll results, Jan, and it looked like the majority of people, the usual length of trip that they like is 2 to 3 days. That's the preferred trip. And so do you have, if somebody was going on a 2 to 3 day trip, do you have like 3 recommended meals that you would bring or that you like to rely on?
Well, I really like the the tortellini recipe. If we went back to that slide that had the meals listed, that would help me a little bit.
Perfect. Here it is.
There we go. So that creamy sun-dried tomato and chicken tortellini is a really go-to, I think. Another one that I didn't put on here, but I really like to fix it, is a green chili Mexican stew, or a green chili stew. So there's your two nights right there, a green chili stew. And I pre-cook the meat that I might put in that, which is pork, and make that my first night, actually, the green chili stew, because since I'm taking in pork and it might not stay frozen long enough, that's the good first meal. The second meal would be the creamy sun-dried tomato and chicken tortellini, because you don't have to take fresh chicken, though you can, if you want to, pre-cook it and freeze it and try to keep it cool. But you can take canned or packaged chicken, and it tastes delicious. And the tortellini, of course, is cheese-filled and has really good flavors. So there's your two meals for 2 days, because you're hiking for 3. The breakfast, I assume that everybody has eaten breakfast. You know, you're not sitting at the trailhead ready to take off. So the next morning, what I like to do is that sausage polenta scramble, or something with hash browns. You know, you could do a easy bacon, cook up the bacon ahead of time and add the bacon to the hash brown scramble. Since there's only going to be one breakfast, and it'll be the first breakfast, I'll carry in the eggs, or I'll take liquid egg substitute to make the eggs with that. And then the second breakfast is a little bit, you can do whatever you want with that one. I would do the salmon bagel, just because it's easy and it's good. And I love cooking the bagels over the, on the pan. It always tickles me to think that I'm making toast when I'm actually frying bread, you know. And then the desserts. Oh, I forgot those, of course. The berry dumpling dessert is my very favorite, because you can take berries that are fresh. You can take freeze-dried berries and set them aside to reconstitute. And then you've got a mix to be able to put, like a dumpling mix, on top of the berry, boiling berries that you're cooking. And you can cover it with either tin foil or a top or something. And it just looks like a pie. And I love it. It's really good. I love the pistachio pudding cups. I mean, those are fun because I usually save that as a surprise. And I'll carry in those small glasses that they're plastic. You know, you've seen them. I don't know how to explain them, but they're just a small plastic glass. And the pistachio pudding is a package, and it's instant. So you mix it up and you make the pistachio pudding, and you carry in some ginger snaps, and you crush those at home ahead of time, and you can layer it. So it's almost like a parfait. So you put in pistachios, and then you put in some of the ginger snaps. And then you can take a pie filling, like a cherry pie filling or a blueberry pie filling, whatever you want, but cherry tastes really good with this. And mix or put a layer of that in, more pistachio pudding, and you've got your plastic cups that everybody can use, and then they're easy to wash and carry out. You know, you want to carry them out and use them again. So carry them out and wash them up and use them again. So the Nutella banana wrap is really easy and good too, because I love Nutella. So you can slice up, take in a tortilla and sprinkle it with, I don't know, whatever you want actually. Caramel bits are really good, as are butterscotch morsels, you know. And then I guess you'd have to do that after you smear the Nutella onto the tortilla. And then you would put the caramel bits on it. and then you would put the banana slices, and then you would roll it up and put it in tin foil. And the tin foil can go right into the campfire along the sides if you have a campfire. And if for some reason you don't have a campfire, it tastes just almost as good, not heated up. You can just eat it from having made it. So I guess that's what I would do for the 2 desserts and the 2 dinners and the 2 breakfasts. And of course, lunches are another thing. I do have a suggestion for lunch. I was hiking down into or up from the bottom of the Grand Canyon. And we went with a guide who stopped along the trail and made us this chicken salad. It was wonderful, with chopped up celery that he chopped up. And then he added chicken, and then, well, let's see what else, cranberries and some mayonnaise packets, and stirred it all up. And we ate that on tortillas, or just on, just in our bowls. And that was really good too. So that's a good salad if you want to, or I mean a good lunch if you want to cook for the whole crew. Other things for lunch, standbys, which would be making your own Lunchables. I call them adult Lunchables, with sliced up salami and cheeses sliced up and crackers, or cut up tortilla things to put your Lunchable stuff on. And another thing is inside that tortilla, if you're putting in the chicken salad or the whatever it is you're making, tuna salad, if you carry in some Fritos, and of course it doesn't matter if they get a little bit smashed, and then you just sprinkle that over before you roll up the tortilla, and then you get some crunch and you get a lot of salt, and it tastes delicious.
This is some very inspiring list of recipes. It's reminding me that it's dinner time.
Okay.
We have some great comments. Sue is wondering what everyone's ace in the hole meal is for when it's pouring rain. Jan, do you have one that you go to when it's raining out?
Yeah. When it's raining, I'll still boil up some water, because I do think having something warm to drink, or a soup. I forgot to say that lots of times soup is my hors d'oeuvre, and it can be simple, like a broth or something. And so I'll, drink soup or drink some tea, while then I've made up my own 1 pot packet of whatever the food is, and I'll just dump it in there and cook it up. And people can serve themselves out of the 1 pot. So that, for me, that's a great opportunity. Because usually if it's not pouring down torrents, which that's time for your snacks or something, I guess, that you would bring, you can do that under a tarp, or you can do that under the front part of your tent, to just boil up the water and add it to what you need and cook it for a few, not even, a couple minutes, and you've got a good satisfying meal that's nice and warm when you're cold and feeling kind of rained on.
That sounds great. There's another attendee named Jan, and she asked, what other grocery store finds are hidden gems for backcountry cooking besides instant potatoes?
Besides instant potatoes?
Yeah,
I would say those rice, you can get rice packets, or rice boxes rather, that have the sauce, the seasonings in it, and the rice. Those are really good. That's almost a whole meal. You don't have to add very much. You could slice up some pepperoni or some jerky and put it in with that. Something we just discovered was a macaroni and cheese made with truffles or with beer. And so, oh, by the way, that's another thing that's fun to carry is you can get these little things to be able to carry in alcohol. And sometimes I like to carry in a beer, not to drink. In fact, people look at me strangely when I say, nope, nope, you can't have any of that. It's for cooking. And I'm adding it to my stews and things. I would add some wine to the tortellini, and I would add the beer to the green chili stew that I was talking to you about. But those macaroni and cheeses are easy, good, fast. Let's see. Oh, let's see. I don't know. I kind of just go to the grocery store to look and decide, but it's in the dried food section. Oh, another great place to go is into the Mexican food section or into the Asian food section, because lots of times they have things that you'll say, oh, wow, that would make a really neat meal. So, Sue, I guess I'm a grocery store junkie too. If I have a few minutes, I like to go in and just see what's, cruise the aisles and see what's available and think about how I might be able to use it.
I am realizing that so much of being a successful camp cook is the focus on the prep work before you're ever out in the backcountry. And it looks like some of the other attendees have some great ideas and fun little suggestions and recipes. Do you mind if I read a few of those off?
No, please.
Okay, so one is stovetop stuffing, instant, and add a can or package of chicken. No cooking required, just boil the water and then add instant mashed potatoes for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You could add some or dried cranberries as well to that.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Another is, this person is Sue's talking about using a bake packer for years, and her grandsons loved the little cakes that they'd make. Cake mix with powdered eggs, powdered milk, and water, and that you can bake cake and pour over a snack pack of peaches, and it's good enough for home. Breakfast burritos, yeah. Another recommendation, which sounds great. And then this person is saying that they carry cracked eggs inside their Nalgene, and it works great for carrying eggs. And they were wondering if you'd ever baked anything in the backcountry.
Well, now, we're getting into something different here. I got a backpacker's oven and have played with that. I ran into somebody that was using one on the trail, and he was making scones. And so I made pizza and, used English muffins and put all kinds of stuff on it and baked those. I love my backpacker oven. It sits on top of the, not quite the jet boil, but whatever the other one is that I've got that uses the kind of hard to do on the jet boil, but you can do it on like a pocket rocket sort of thing. And I've done that. And let's see, what else have I baked? I baked brownies. Somehow I didn't trust that they were done, and so I kind of had to carry that whole pan out because they baked pretty hard into the pan. So yeah, I think that's great. I've watched or Googled things about how to bake, and there are people that have reflector ovens and being able to use a campfire to build an oven. Those I have done, but I liked my backpacker oven.
Wow. I think that is about it for questions, but I just want to thank you again, Jan. These were some amazing tips that I can't wait to try, and I'm sure that other folks who attended are also excited about. This webinar was recorded and will be shared with everybody who registered. And yeah, I just want to thank you again, Jan. It was really great having you. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else did as well. Thank you,
It
everybody.
was really fun. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity. It was really fun.
Good. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you, everybody who joined. You can find more information about the Montana Wilderness Association at wildmontana.org, and also support our work at wildmontana.org/donate. And you can support our work, like the trail crew work that Jan has volunteered with in the past, and been the camp cook for in the past, but also the advocacy work we do around the state to protect public lands and the wild places that we all love so much. Anyway, and just so you know, Jan, we're getting a bunch of thank you messages and a lot of appreciation and love in the chat. So,
Okay. I did have one question, Jacob.
yes.
Are you going to be able to make this available to people? You know, if I send you the list of the cookbooks and other things,
Absolutely.
should I just send it to you, or what should I do?
Yeah, if you send a cookbook title and website list to me, I can include that in the email that goes out to everybody.
Okay. All right.
Perfect. Thank you again. Thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Goodbye.